And how's it going, everyone? It is Skullzi here with the latest and the greatest gaming news. Today I want to break down yet another recent interview regarding future Bethesda and Microsoft exclusivity. I'm sure you've heard of this situation by now, this news. Basically, Microsoft purchased ZeniMax for like $7.6 billion, and thus they purchased Bethesda Softworks, Bethesda Game Studios, id Studios, basically every development studio underneath that Bethesda Softworks umbrella. And ever since this news went public, everyone has been basically losing their minds and wondering if future Bethesda games, including The Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, would all be Microsoft exclusive, leaving out the PlayStation community completely. This is something I've talked about numerous times already here in the channel, as I've been breaking down and reporting on anything that goes down regarding any of this, anything that can help us understand what the percentages or chances are of future Bethesda exclusivity, and the situation is the most recent update regarding all of this, because we just got yet another interview including an interesting statement from Microsoft about future Bethesda exclusivity. I feel like I'm going to say Bethesda and Microsoft exclusivity like 100 times in this video. Don't go making any unhealthy games based around how many times I say anything now. But anyway, let's continue on. This interview comes from the Jefferies Interactive Entertainment Virtual Conference last week, where Xbox CFO Tim Stewart spoke and answered different questions about various interesting topics, the majority of which are obviously gaming related, however most focused on how Xbox plans to do things differently in the next generation of gaming and beyond. And huge shout out to Seeking Alpha who transcribed this, as we now have a broken down narrative of this interview, and like all other Bethesda or Microsoft interviews lately, the topic of this Bethesda acquisition was brought up, including the potential for any Bethesda and Xbox exclusivity going forward. If you want to read this entire interview for yourself, I'll go ahead and drop a link to Seeking Alpha's transcribed version of this down in the description below, and I believe they also uploaded the original audio from this interview as well over there. But in today's video, I'm just going to focus on the Bethesda portion of this interview, which really only revolves around this one question right here. Tim Stewart is asked, another question we're getting from the line here is, with the acquisition of Bethesda, is the plan to make certain Bethesda franchises like Fallout and Doom exclusive to Xbox, or do you plan to still support cross-platform play? And Tim responds by saying yes. The goal here is, well, I'll say it from a cross-platform perspective. Microsoft is a platform. We're one of the first to really support Minecraft, Roadblock, Fortnite across platforms, so we highly encourage cross-platform play. Simply from this landscape of, if it's good for the gaming ecosystem, it's good for us. Classic rising tide lifts all the boats kind of thing. What we'll do in the long run is, we don't have intentions of just pulling all Bethesda content out of Sony or Nintendo or otherwise, but what we want is, we want that content in the long run to be either first or better or best or pick your differentiated experience on our platforms. We want Bethesda content to be the best it can be on our platforms. Yes, that's not a point about being exclusive. That's not a point about we're being adjusting the timing or content or roadmap or anything like that. But if you think about something like Game Pass, it shows up best in Game Pass. That's what we want to see, and that's what we want to drive our Game Pass subscriber base through that Bethesda pipeline. So again, I'm not announcing pulling content from platforms one way or another, but I suspect you'll continue to see us shift towards a first or better or best approach on our platforms. So before I break down what I think all this could mean in my opinion, one important thing you need to keep in mind here is that this Microsoft and Bethesda acquisition deal is not finalized yet and still has to get approved by the government, which very well it should be, at least by how everything seems right now. But since this deal isn't finalized yet, it's not actually legal or wise to speak in full detail about how all of this would work. Bethesda and Microsoft has to choose their words very carefully with how they choose to respond to questions like this, at least for now, and they're literally limited with how much they can say by actual legal procedures. And with that in mind, the usual response to any exclusivity questions tends to be someone answering the question without directly answering it at all, which is, I guess, something Bethesda Game Studios is used to doing at least, so that's cool. Or the response to questions like this usually is something along the lines like, oh, exclusivity is possible, but it's not our main goal here. Overall, every response to a question like this from all the different interviews and stuff lately can be summed up to basically being future Bethesda exclusivity will be on a case-by-case basis, meaning a game-by-game basis. Although there were the few rare interviews that seemed to speak directly against any potential Bethesda exclusivity, including statements made directly from Todd Howard himself, and this interview does stand out a bit more from the other ones, however not in terms of speaking against exclusivity, but actually making it seem like the entire 100% Microsoft exclusivity situation is far less likely than, say, timed exclusives or exclusive content deals deals revolving around DLC. As Microsoft says here, it's not about exclusives per se, as much as it's about just making Bethesda games first, or best, or better, or most greatest biggest, or really unlimited awesome, or greatest most first, or the most first experience one can have. But all jokes aside though, here is what I think based upon these statements. While I am sure some Bethesda games may very well be entirely Microsoft exclusive, I actually believe that won't be as common as some people may think. Instead, I believe games such as Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6 will be timed exclusives on Microsoft platforms, meaning the Xbox Series X and the PC and whatever comes out in the future. Having timed exclusivity like this will definitely sell Xboxes, and at the same time do what Microsoft's main goal has been this entire time, which is to get more Game Pass subscribers. Microsoft has been talking non-stop about Game Pass lately and making it very obvious that that is their main focus right now, and if they can even wrap up future Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 DLC into being Microsoft timed exclusives, which again would be free to anyone who has Game Pass, that would tick so many boxes in Microsoft's quest log right now that I 100% believe that that would be their main goal here, and how all of this would most likely go in terms of Bethesda and Microsoft exclusivity. And it seems like that is exactly what Tim Stewart is sort of saying here without saying it in this interview, and saying stuff without actually saying it is the overall vibe and tone that we are seeing from any response to any of these questions regarding Bethesda exclusivity. Keep in mind here though that this is all my educated speculation based upon somewhat indirect statements made in this interview, so be a smart little bottle of scuba and make up your own mind for yourself. I am pretty confident in my breakdown of all this though. I guess time will tell one way or another. As always though, let me know what you think about all this down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn notifications on. And if you want to help the channel grow and keep the community informed about the latest news, you can share this video as well, as sharing a video is the best way to help a channel and a community grow. This video is brought to you by the following amazing people as well. If you want to get a video shout out like this, you can support the channel over on Ko-fi, Patreon, or here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member. Links for all of this and more are down in the description below. And as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when Starfield is Garfield's emo goth little brother.